for giving me the opportunity to deliver my talk in this seminar series. The topic of my talk is on the eccentricity matrices of graph. Now I'm before going to, this is the outline of my talk. First, I will give some motivation to my work. Then I will discuss some basic concept, then the main labels. Then I will show you some open problems and references. As you know, that the matrices associated with the graph, there are a lot of matrices like adjacency matrix, incidence matrix, Laplacian matrix, distance matrix, and many more. And these matrices are well studied by the researcher, and there are lots of literature available for this matrix. But we are dealing with a new class of matrix called eccentricity matrix. Originally, the eccentricity matrix is introduced by Miller-Rendick in the paper D-max matrix of dominant distance in a graph in 2013 as the D-max matrix, which is renamed as eccentricity matrix by Wang, Lu, Ballardo, and Rendick in paper the anti-adjacency matrix of a graph, eccentricity matrix in 2008. This eccentricity matrix has lot of application in the chemical graph theory. There are some of the applications of eccentricity matrix. This eccentricity matrix has applications on the branching pattern of molecular graphs. Also, it has application in terms of molecular descriptors. It has application on the boiling point of hydrocarbons. But I am not working in the application part. My area of work is basically to develop the spectral theory based on eccentricity matrix. Now let us recall some basic definition. Okay, before that I will show you some recent work on the eccentricity matrix. These are some recent work in the area of this eccentricity matrix. Okay, now I am recalling some basic definition. Let G be a simple connected graph with the vertex set Vg and the A set Eg. The cardinality of the vertex set Vg is called the order of the graph G. The distance between the vertices Vi and Vj, denoted by d of Vi, Vj, is the length of the shortest path between the vertices Vi and Vj. The eccentricity E of U of the vertex U is defined as the maximum of d of uv, where v is the any vertex of graph G. That is, eccentricity is the eccentricity of the vertex U is the maximum distance from U to all other vertices. A vertex V is said to be an eccentric vertex of the vertex U if distance between U and V is equal to the eccentricity of V. The diameter of a graph G is the maximum eccentricity of all vertices of V, and the radius of the graph G is the minimum eccentricity of all the vertices of G. A vertex U is said to be a diametrical vertex of G if eccentricity of U is equal to the diameter of the graph G. If each vertex of G has a unique diametrical vertex, then G is called a diametrical graph. Suppose, for example, even cycle is a diametrical graph. For every vertex, it has a unique diametrical vertex. Now I will recall the definition of eccentricity matrix. The eccentricity matrix A of G of a connected graph G is an n-cross and symmetric matrix whose rows and columns are indexed by the vertex set of G, and the ith entry is equals to 1 if Vi is adjacent to Vg and 0 otherwise. The distance matrix of a connected graph G is an n by n symmetric matrix with added entry is equals to Dij, where Dij is the distance between the vertices Pi and Pj. Now I will discuss the definition of eccentricity matrix. The eccentricity matrix of a connected graph G is obtained from the distance matrix of G by retaining the largest distances in each row and each column and setting the remaining is H. The matrix which UVF and T is equal to D of UV. D of UV is equal to minimum of EU comma EV. That is the eccentricity of U. This is the eccentricity of U and eccentricity. If distance between U and V is equal to the minimum of the eccentricity of U and V, then only we will keep distance between U and V. Otherwise, we will put G. We will discuss this definition with an example. Let us consider the graph G. Let G is the distance matrix and epsilon of G denotes the eccentricity matrix. Then the distance matrix is equal to this one. So in the distance matrix, we know that the ith entry is equal to the distance between the vertex I and J. We are considering here the level 1, 2, 3, 4. So for the vertex 1, all the vertices are in one distance, so we are getting 1, 1, 1 here. And for itself, since it is a simple graph, there is no loop and no loop, so we are getting the entry. So same way we are getting the distance matrix. Now we will calculate the eccentricity matrix of the graph G. So before doing that, let us calculate the eccentricity of each vertex. Now the eccentricity of the vertex 1 is 1. Since it is adjacent to every vertex, so maximum distance to other vertex is 1. So the eccentricity of the vertex 1 is 1. The eccentricity of the vertex 2 is 2, because the largest distance account for the vertex 4. This distance is 2. Similarly, the eccentricity of 3 is 2, 4 is also 2. Now, how we will get the eccentricity matrix of the graph G? For the vertex 1, so 1, 1 entry is 0. Now, see the other 1, 2 entry. 1 to 2, the distance is 1, and the minimum eccentricity of the vertex 1 and 2 is 1. So that's why we are putting here. So same way we are getting 1, 1. Since it is symmetric, so column also will be all 1. Now 2, 2 entry is again 0. So 2, 3 entry. 2, 3 entry, you see the distance is 1. But the eccentricity of 2 and 3 both are 2. Therefore, it is not equal to the distance between 2 and 3 is not equal to the minimum of the eccentricity of 2 and 3. Therefore, we will put here 0. Now, 2, 4th entry, distance between 2 and 4 is 2, and eccentricity of 2 and 4 is also 2. Therefore, we are getting 2 here. This way, we are getting the eccentricity matrix of the graph G. Yeah. So now I will define some notation related to this eccentricity matrix. The eigenvalues of epsilon of G, that is the eccentricity matrix of G, is called the epsilon eigenvalues of G, and they form the epsilon spectrum of G. The largest eigenvalue of epsilon G is called the epsilon spectral radius and is denoted by rho of epsilon G. The epsilon degree of a vertex Vi in Vg is defined as epsilon of I equals to summation j equals to 1 to n epsilon ij. This epsilon ij is the ith entry in the eccentricity matrix of G. That is, epsilon degree of the vertex Vi is basically the ith row sum of the ith row sum in the eccentricity matrix. Okay. Now we define the epsilon regular. Let epsilon 1, epsilon 2, dot epsilon n. This is the epsilon degree sequence of the stuff. Then G is said to be epsilon regular. Epsilon of I equals to k for all I. That is basically in the eccentricity matrix, if all the row sums are equal to I, then the graph is said to be epsilon vector. Two graphs are said to be epsilon co-spectral if they have the same epsilon spectrum. Okay. Now I will recall the interrelation theorem and one lemma. Interrelation theorem is like this. Suppose A is an n cross n symmetric matrix, and B is an m by m principal submatrix of A, and if lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda n are the eigenvalues of A, and beta 1, beta 2, beta n are the eigenvalues of B, then lambda k less or equal to beta less or equal to lambda of k plus n minus 1 for all k equals to 1. And if we put m equals to n minus 1, then the inequality will be lambda 1 less to beta 1 less to lambda 2. That is basically between two eigenvalues of A, we will get one eigenvalue of B. This is the interrelation theorem. Now we shall recall a lemma from this paper, which we will need later. The graph K1, n minus 1. This is the star graph. We are denoting this the star graph on n vertices. The graph K1, n minus 1 is the unique graph which has maximum distant spectral radius among all graphs with diameter 2. Okay. Now we recall the definition of energy of spectra. This is a well-known definition. The energy of a graph is defined as the sum of the absolute values of the eigenvalues of the adjacency matrix of the graph G. So in a similar way, the eccentricity energy or epsilon energy of a graph G is defined as the absolute values of the eigenvalues of the eccentricity matrix. Two graphs are said to be epsilon equinergetic if they have the same epsilon energy. Now we will recall the definition of Wiener index. The Wiener index of a graph G is defined as half of the distance between U and V, where U and V the distance of the graph G. That is distance between all the vertices of G by half. In other way, we can say in the distance matrix of the graph G, if we take the sum of all the entries by 2, then that will be the Wiener index of the graph. In a similar way, we define the epsilon Wiener index. So we take that in the eccentricity matrix, we take the sum of all entries by 2. That is epsilon Wiener index. Now, I will come to my main results. In 2018, Wang, Liu, Bellardo, and Rendick made the following conjecture for the least eigenvalue of the tree. The conjecture is like this. Let T be a tree on n greater than equal to 3 vertices, and epsilon and T denote the least eigenvalue of the eccentricity matrix of T. Then epsilon and T is less than or equals to -2, and the equality holds if and only if the star. We solve this conjecture affirmatively. We prove that let T be a tree of order n other than P2, then the least eigenvalue of T is less than or equals to -2. Equality if only if the star. Now I will give the proof of this theorem. Let T be a tree on n greater than equal to 3 vertices other than the star. We want to show that epsilon n of T is strictly less than -2. If we are able to prove this, then the proof is complete. Without loss of analyticity, assume that P of V1, Vn Pn lies in the tree T. That is basically the diametrical part. Now distance then distance between V1 and Vn will be K. So we are taking T other than star, so the minimum value of K will be 3 because the diameter will be starting from 3 and the maximum it will be maximum when it is a path, then it will be n minus 1. So this is the limit for K. Now since V1 and Vn at the corner point of a diametrical path, then we will get that the eccentricity of V1 and eccentricity of Vn will be K. Now, corresponding to this V1 and Vn, we will get a principal symmetrics of the eccentricity matrix of T, like this 0k, kj. This is the 2 by 2 principal symmetrics of epsilon. And the eigenvalues of this matrix are k and minus k. And now, by interlacing theorem, we can say that epsilon n of T, this least eigenvalue of T, is less than or equal to minus, since k is lying between 3 to n minus 1. So the least eigenvalue of is than or equal to minus 2. That means it is strictly less than minus 2. So the proof is the second. Okay. Next, we will give a characterization of the star graph in terms of invertibility of the eccentricity matrix. This is the theorem. Let P be a T other than P4, for means path on 4 vertices. Then the eccentricity matrix of T is invertible if and only if T is the star. In the proof. Let me star on n distance matrix of T and the eccentricity matrix of T. So, T is the star. So for the star, distance matrix and eccentricity matrix is basically same. And we know that the determinant of D of T is equals to minus 1 to the power n minus 1 into n minus 1 into 2 to the power n minus. This is a very well-known result by Graham and Pollack. So this is basically for every T. So therefore, the determinant of epsilon T is equal to this one, and that is not equal to 0. Therefore, if T be a star on n vertices, then we are getting that the eccentricity matrix is always invertible. Okay, and for n equals to 4, there are only 2 trees of order 4, that is P4 and K13. This is a star on 4 vertices. And this eccentricity matrix of this both the trees are invertible. That's why we prove this result other than P4. Because P4, only for P4 we are getting epsilon of T is invertible. So we consider n that are close to 5. Let T be a tree on n corresponds to 5 vertices other than the star. Then we will show that the determinant of epsilon T is always 0. If we are able to show this, then our proof is done. Let P of V1 comma Vm equals to V1 V2 up to Vm be a diametrical path of length m minus 1 in T. Case 1, if this V2 or Vm minus 1 is adjacent to at least one pendant vertex other than this Vm or V1. This is the first case we consider. Without loss of generality, assume that up to UP. Then the rows corresponding to the vertices U1, U2, UP, and Vm are same in the eccentricity matrix of T. Therefore, we are getting the determinant of the T equals to 0. So, in this case, then determinant is 0. Now, we discuss the other case. If it is not that case, that means both the vertices V2 and Vm minus 1 are not adjacent to any of the pendant vertices other than V1 and Vm. Then what will be the case? First, we shall discuss the case for diameter 3. So if T is a tree on n corresponds to 5 vertices and diameter is 3, then obviously one of the vertices, V2 and Vm minus 1, so this must be adjacent to at least one parent vertices other than this V1 or V2. So therefore, 2 follows by case 1. No need to consider this case. So we consider diameter greater than equals to 4. Now for diameter 4, we consider the diametrical. This is the diametrical part. G1, G2, G4, C5. I will discuss in following. This is the diametrical part. G1, G2, G3, G4. See, V2 and V4 are not adjacent to any pendant vertex. So there is no vertex here, and this V2 and V4 cannot adjacent to a non-pendant vertex, because if V4 is adjacent to some non-pendant vertex, therefore V2 and V4 there is no it is not adjacent anywhere. So only the cases will be there. Suppose U1, U2 up to UP, these are the vertices which have exactly one common neighbor with it, and it cannot be actually further, because then it will increase the diameter. Okay, now okay, this U1, U2, UP are pendant. Then the row corresponding to the vertices W1, W2, WP, V2, V4, and the row corresponding to the vertex V3, this will be linearly dependent. The row corresponding to the linear combination of these vertices and with the row with corresponding to the vertex V3, this will be linearly dependent in the affinity matrix of P. So determinant is always G. And if we consider diameter greater than to 5, then also for a diametrical path V1, V2, V3, Vm minus 1 Vm, we will get V2 and V3. This corresponding to these two rows, we will get linearly dependent. Therefore, all the cases, if we consider P is a tree other than the star, we will always get determinant is equals to G. Therefore, if the axiomatic matrix of P is invertible, then P must be a star. Okay. Next, I will keep maximum spectral radius among graphs with diameter 2. Which graphs will keep this maximum spectral radius among the graphs with diameter 2? We prove that among all connected graphs on n vertices with diameter 2, the star is the unique graph which is the maximum absolute spectral radius. So like the distance. Proof idea is basically using the distance result. This is the proof idea. Since the eccentricity matrix of G is obtained from the distance matrix by retaining sum of the entries 0. Therefore, the eccentricity, this distance matrix is always greater than equal to this eccentricity matrix by entry wise. And the Parent-Thogeness theorem, we can say that the spectral radius is also greater than. So the spectral radius of the eccentricity matrix is always greater than the always less than the spectral radius of distance matrix. From the definition of eccentricity matrix, we are getting this one, and by Parent-Thogeness theorem. Now we know that the distance matrix and eccentricity matrix are same for star. And we have seen this result in the lemma. We recall this result. The result is this, that the star has the maximum distance spectral radius among all graphs with diameter 2. So this result we have. Now using this proof, this idea and this idea, we are getting a result. Now I shall give one bounds for absolute spectral radius for a graph with a given diameter. if G is a connected graph with diameter D greater than equals to 2, then the spectral radius of G is greater than equals to D, and the equality holds if and only if G is the diametrical graph with diameter D. Now I'll give a sketch of the proof. It is easy to see that, so since G is a connected graph with diameter D, therefore 0 D D0, this will be a 2/2 principal symmetric. It is easy to see. That's why interesting here we can say that as to this so this is done. Now we have to put equality. So if G is the diametrical graph with symmetry, then the eccentricity matrix of G will look like this. For the diametrical graph, every vertex has a unit diametrical vertex. That is, the eccentricity accounts for only one vertex, and the eccentricity will be T. So that's why we are getting this type of nice form. And the spectrum of this matrix is Dn minus D. So spectral radius is okay. Now, conversely, let that the spectral radius is equal to T. Then we have to prove that G is a diametrical graph. We will prove this by contradiction. Suppose G is not a diametrical. Then what we first case we consider that radius of G is not equal to diameter. That means the graph G has some vertices which have eccentricity less than D. So we assume that there is one vertex Vk such that the eccentricity is equal to K and is less than D. Let you are is a vertex with eccentricity D. Since V is a connected graph, therefore there is a path between V1 and Vk. Now, if it is adjacent to V1, is either D or D. So this is my V1, and first I assume that this Vk, suppose V1 has suppose the eccentric vertex of V1 is Vn. That means the eccentricity is accounts for this vertex. Okay. And we assume that Vk is lying inside this V1 VL path. Then we will see that this has to be eccentricity D minus 1. If it is not the case, so if it can be D or D minus 1. Here it is D minus 1 because VL here it can't be extended. This is the possible case. And other way, if we consider that VL is in this side and Vk is in this side, then the eccentricity of this vertex, here this vertex will be D minus 1, but eccentricity of this vertex will be D. It can't be D plus 1 because the longest path is of length D. It can't be extended like this. Here, this V2 vertex has to be has an other path like this. So the eccentricity of these vertices, like which vertices are adjacent to V1 and V1, which the eccentricity of any vertex which is adjacent to V1 is either D or D minus 1. This is the case. Then we will get this type of principal sum corresponding to those entries. So I am considering those entries only. So therefore, there always exists a pair of adjacent vertices U and V such that eccentricity of U will be D and eccentricity of V will be D minus 1. For this case, we can consider these two vertex. Between these two, we will get two vertex whose eccentricity is D or D minus 1. There are also same case. We can get two vertex for which we will get this eccentricity is t or t minus 1. We consider those vertices, and that way we will get this as the principal submatrix, and the spectral radius of this matrix is this, which is greater than b. And we assume that the spectral radius of G is equals to t, therefore this is a contradiction. So this case is gone. Therefore, all the vertices of the graph G have same axis. Now we have to prove that. Each vertex has a unique diametrical vertex. Therefore, one vertex cannot have two diametrical vertices. If it is the case, if it is two diametrical vertices, then we will get this type of principal submatrix. And the spectral radius of this matrix is 0, which is also greater than b. This is also not possible. Therefore, every vertex of G has a unique diametrical vertex. Therefore, that is the definition of diametrical graph. So the graph is a diametrical graph. Okay. Next, we will give a corollary of the above theorem. Among the connected bipartite graphs on given vertices, the graph WN, N has the minimum epsilon spectral radius, where WN, N is the graph obtained by deleting n independent edges from the complete bipartite graph K n, we can prove this using the above theorem. So note that this WN, N is a diametrical graph with diameter 3. Therefore, this spectral radius is 3, and it is always greater than, and the spectral, it has minimum spectral radius among the graphs, bipartite graph with diameter greater than equals to 3. Only case left is which bipartite graphs have diameter 2. Among the bipartite graphs on 2n vertices, these are the only two bipartite graphs which have diameter 2. And by direct calculation, we have seen that these are the eigenvalues of spectral radius of these two, and all are greater than 3. Okay, so this way we are getting that it has minimum epsilon spectral radius. Okay. Next, I have given two lower bounds for this epsilon spectral radius in terms of eccentric invariance. Let G be a connected graph on n vertices with eccentric invariance W epsilon. Then rho of epsilon of G greater than equal to 2 of W epsilon by n. The equality holds for epsilon regular graph. And if this is the epsilon degree sequence of G, then rho of epsilon of G is greater than equals to this quantity. Actually, this type of bounds is known for the distance matrix. This is known, similar type of bounds is known in the literature, this article. Sub bounds on the distance spectral radius and the distance energy of graphs by G. Indulal. So, and the proof idea is also same. That's why we are skipping the this theorem. Next. Construction of a non-cospectral equienergetic graph is an interesting problem in spectral graph theory. So, motivated by this, we also give a construction for this eccentric case. We give a construction for non-epsilon cospectral epsilon equienergetic graphs. For n greater than equals to 6 and pq greater than equals to 2, the graphs kp, n minus p. These two graphs, these are complete bipartite graphs with this partition. Okay, proof. With proper leveling, we can see that the eccentricity matrix of complete bipartite graph it looks like this one. Right? Here JP is P by P matrix with all matrix equals to 1 and I is the identity matrix. So eccentricity matrix of KPQ will look like this. This is the form of the eccentricity matrix, and this is the spectrum of this matrix. This is the spectrum. So these are the eigenvalues, and these are the algebraic multiplexity. Therefore, the eccentric energy of complete bipartite graph is equals to 4 into p plus p minus 2. And you can see that this energy of these two graphs is equals to n minus 4 into n minus 2, but their spectrum is different. The spectrum is different. Okay. Same way also we can give construction so non-cospectral equivalent for complete multipartite graph also. Here some of the open problems. These problems are not solved yet. This problem is like this: for each pair of integers n and d with n even and d greater than equals to 2 and n this greater than equals to 4d minus 4. Can one give a construction for the diametrical graphs with order n and diameter? Actually, we have a construction for diameter 2 and diameter 3, but rest of the part we are not able to solve. Still, and the problem is still open. This is one open problem. Which trees have the maximum epsilon spectral radius? So least epsilon spectral radius is already computed. We compute that conjecture. So in conjecture it was for minimum epsilon spectral radius, but maximum is not solved yet. And for diametric, for a given for a graph with given diameter, this least eigenvalue is equals to minus b. This is also not solved yet. We solved that the eigenvalue is equals to d. Least eigenvalue is equals to d. That we solved, but minus 3 we not able to solve. And these are some open problems, and these are the references of my talk. And finally, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ishwar. Thank you for the interesting talk. Yeah, audience, if you have any question, you can ask now.
Yeah.
You have a result from the energy of product graphs.
Product graph, no sir. For product graph, I don't get any data. Actually, I have tried for those products, that is Cartesian product, lexicographic product, but for those cases, I obtained some results. Those are very basic. That is for very particular, using only complete graph and some regular graph. I get that, but for general result, I don't have. That Cartesian product, lexicographic product.
That may be used for generating more epsilon energetic graphs.
Okay.
Some results of product graphs, originally for ordinary energy, I just started using tensor product of graphs.
Okay.
Graphs which are non-isomorphic but have the same energy. So similarly, we have some results in product graphs, perhaps you can generate more families of equal epsilon energetic graphs.
Actually, I have tried to compute the spectrum of the Cartesian product lexicographic, but I have not tried in that way to construction for equivalent and specific part. Okay, sir. Yeah, I will try if it is possible.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Please.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in the characterization of a star graph in terms of invertibility of the eccentricity matrix, how did you split out the cases? Is there any key idea behind it, or just an observation by looking examples?
Actually, that there is no, we observed it by looking examples only. That way we got that this, if this is the case, what is the possible case? That way we go and then we try to try to consider all the cases.
Okay, okay,
What
sir.
are the possible cases?
Okay. Sir, like, what is the advantage of computing eccentric spectrum of particular class of graph, like a complete by yeah, here we have used the eccentric spectrum of complete bipartite graph to construct the equienergetic graph.
Yeah.
Right? In suppose if we compute for some well-known graphs in the paper cocktail party graph, some graphs path like that. What are the advantage of it?
Actually, the computing the spectrum is always like interesting problem in the spectral graph theory. It has actually spectrum has a lot of applications in that in the like if we able to compute the spectrum, that means we can compute the energy, and energy have some applications. So like the as usual case, adjacency case or distance case, what is the so what way we can move, that is computing the distance spectrum, computing the adjacency spectrum, and those will give some uh, results for other cases. So the same way we can think for this eccentricity case also.
Okay.
And since this eccentricity matrix is basically starting from the chemistry, basically chemical graph theory, and it is introduced by one chemist, that is M. Randick is Milord Randick is a chemist. So he introduced this one, and that's why it has lot of application in chemical graph. But I am not working in that area. I am basically working in this theory part.
Okay. So why do we consider only simple graphs, not allowing multiple edges?
Yeah, so why we consider, so for as with so it is obtained from the distance case, right? Or but actually from the definition we are taking care of the distance case, and distance matrix for every cases like everywhere the distance matrix is known for defined for a simple connected graph.
Okay. Actually, in what way I am asking is, if we are concerning only about connected graph, if suppose for adjacency matrix like that, if we consider disconnected graphs, then the matrix will look like block
Yeah.
each. So in such way, is there any relation?
Actually, I didn't think in that way. I don't know
Okay,
how
okay,
it will be.
okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe Divya, to answer your question. So if you have a weighted graph,
Okay, sir.
sorry, if you have a multi-graph, then you can think of that as a weighted graph. If you have between two vertices more than one edge, just you count how many edges are there between these two vertices.
Okay, sir.
So make that a single edge and give that weight to that particular edge. So,
Okay.
so the distance matrices for weighted graphs, they are well-studied object. Like even the distance formula what Ishwar presented today, it has a weighted analog proved by Professor Boppert, Kirtland, and Newman. Okay, so the corresponding so theory for weighted graphs. Okay, theory of eccentricity matrices of weighted graphs. It's not yet started. Yeah, I think if you are interested, one can start that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other
Sir, one more question. Sorry, sir. Sir, like already we have so many graph matrices, adjacency, distance, Laplacian, etc. Is there any speciality of this particular matrix, eccentricity matrix?
Actually, if you see that for application part, that distance paper, that what I mentioned, that I'm sharing that. What my paper is this one. Mm,
Yes, sir.
this boiling point hydrocarbon. Yeah. This type of application, if you see, so in this paper you can see that for adjacency and distance case, it will give some better results for those cases. For known adjacency and distance case, whatever linear model this action with respect to eccentricity matrix is giving, this is better than the adjacency and distance.
Okay.
So those type of applications, from the application
Point of view, it is
Yeah.
more efficient than the
yeah, more
adjacency.
efficient. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any other question?
Yeah. Okay, if there is no other question, let us thank Ishwar for his interesting talk. Yeah, thank you, Ishwar.